Hi, I'm Scott Willison, owner of the Confluence Fly Shop in Bellingham, Washington. It is March here in northwestern Washington. We're kind of right in the middle of steelhead season, and we're fortunate to have an opener on the Skagit and Sauk this year. So I'm going to tie one of my favorite kind of just all-purpose go-to steelhead flies. I call this the go-to bunny tube. Lots of flies out there like it. It's pretty straightforward and simple, but fishes very well. And this is a color combo that I particularly like when we've got low clear water around. So in my vise I have a Pro Sport Fisher flexi needle, and on that I have a clear Flexitube. I've cut a little bit off the back of the tube in the junction tube portion. I'm going to leave this one fairly long, and then we're going to go ahead and start with some pink thread. You can use 70 Denier pink ultra thread. I think I've got some 6/0 Danville in the bobbin right now, and we'll just lay down a little thread base. And then go back to that junction section. For my body, I'm going to use just a pearl flat diamond braid. I really like the flat braids on the tubes. The tube itself is already a little bulky, so this will help to trim things down. And we'll just go ahead and wrap that up to where our thread is stopped. We'll secure that with a couple of thread wraps. And then go ahead and trim that off. And then for my wing here, this is where the bunny comes in. I've got just a white Zonker rabbit strip. You can kind of see I've already pre-tapered both ends. I've cut this end to a little point here, and then I've cut the tie-in area to a point as well. That's just going to minimize bulk as I'm tying this in. And we'll go ahead and tie it in by the little point just right on top of the shank. And we're good. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add a nice collar of, this is a fluorescent blue Fish Hunter Speyquill Marabou. I've already stripped away all the fluffy stuff at the base, and we're just gonna kind of comb back some of these fibers, give ourselves a nice, neat little tie-in point. So I've trimmed everything off to just a little nub here to tie that in by. And then we're going to get about 3, maybe 4 wraps out of this. I'm just going to stroke those fibers back so I've got everything flowing nicely toward the back of the fly. Looks like we got 3 wraps. Tie back over that stem, and then we can trim that down. I'm going to add a little bit of flash to this fly here. We're going to use two kinds of flash. I've got one of my favorites here, just the lateral scale, the opalescent lateral scale. I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 strands from that. And then I've got some good old pearlescent Flashabou here. I'll cut 2 strands from that as well. I'll tie this one in all sorts of different colors. You can vary the flash as you like. Sometimes for real glacial water, I like to tie them pretty flashy, and I'll tie in about 4 times as much flash as I'm going to on this one. But this is one I like to fish in clear water, so I want a little bit of sparkle to it, but don't want to go too over the top. So I've got my 2 strands of flash together, and I'm going to bind those down in the center on both sides of the tube. Just kind of run them down along the side of that rabbit tail. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side of the hook. And we should be good. And I like to just kind of chop these up all sorts of different lengths. Got some short flash and some longer flash that'll extend almost back to the end of the tail. Don't want anything going beyond the tail, but I like them to be all different lengths. Helps make the fly look a little more natural. Now, down each side of the fly, I've got just a natural Grizzly saddle hackle, a real thin one, and I'm going to tie one of those down each side of the fly here. And they're going to be just a little shorter than the rabbit tail. Like to leave a little stem there, and I got those fairly even. I think the one on my side might be just a hair longer, so I'll kind of pull that in. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that. And then I'm going to take those little stem pieces and actually fold them back and wrap over them. That helps to ensure that if something tugs on those feathers, they're not just going to slip out. Gives a nice kind of broken up silhouette to the fly. So now that I've got that in, we're going to finish the fly off with a Schlappen feather. This is a medium pink Fish Hunter Nature Spirit collaring Schlappen. Been tying a lot with this stuff lately. It's really just nice and webby. Great way to finish your big steelhead flies. So I've stripped away the fluff from the base of the feather, and then we're going to do just like we did with the Marabou. Kind of figure out where we want to tie that in to get 3 or 4 wraps. And then we'll trim that to a little nub there. We can tie in by that portion, and we're good. Then I'll kind of sweep those fibers back. And we gave ourselves just enough for 3 wraps. Bind that down nice and firm. And then trim that away. Oops. We're going to trim that a little bit closer if we can. Much better. Alright. And then we'll go ahead and just wrap over what remains of that stem. Build ourselves up a little head here. And then we can whip finish. Alright, and then we'll slip this off of our tube here, or our mandrel, and I'm going to go ahead and trim this to within a couple millimeters. So I leave just a little bit of a head there. You can tell I've been tying a lot of tube flies lately because I got little bits of plastic tubing all strewn about the room. And then I'm going to hold the fly vertically, I'll hold the lighter horizontally, and we'll just let that blue part of the flame kind of kiss the tube and just melt that down into a little mushroom shape there. So that is the fly, and then I'll show you how I like to rig these as well. Now you could stick a hook back in this junction tubing portion and just have it a fixed length there. If you're going to do that, unless you're using a longer shanked hook, you're going to have to orient that hook facing downward. I often like to have my flies riding with the hook point up. They seem to catch on the bottom a little less doing that. So I've got a little piece of monofilament. I've got a Aqua Flies Aqua Talon hook here in a size 2 already rigged up on there, and I'll just slip that through the tube to kind of show you how I rig these. Alright, so I tied a loop knot, and I sized that loop knot there so that the knot would jam where the junction tubing meets the thinner part of the tubing in there. And you'll notice I left my junction tubing portion rather long on this fly. I like that because that stiffer material is going to support the otherwise kind of limper or droopy monofilament, and keep that hook right up just behind the tail there, which is ideally where I want that. And then this fly is ready to go. So there you go. We got a go-to bunny leech here. Tie these in blacks, purples, and pink and orange is certainly a deadly color. There's no limit to your imagination and the colors you want to do with these things here. So you can find the materials for this fly and many others at the Confluence Fly Shop in Bellingham, Washington. Thanks for watching, and please be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.